interestingly enough, I started my career as an accountant.
Really?
Yes. So my first job, it's interesting that I'm going to Houston tomorrow, was with Shell Oil Company in Houston, Texas, in the crude oil accounting department. It was horrible. It was so boring. I would sit at a System 38 dump terminal, and the way the oil moves through pipelines, not that you care, is the oil comes out of the ground in the central Gulf Coast in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
And it would go into a pipeline, and you measure it going into the pipeline because it's fluid. So if it gets hotter or colder, temperature, what have you, the volume changes. And so you'd have to put in all the information, the temperature, the date, the time, blah, blah, and the type of oil. And then it would calculate because maybe the platform was owned by Texaco, the pipeline was owned by Shell, and then it was going to a refinery owned by Texaco. And so all of that changed where whose oil at what point was on whose balance sheet.
Interesting.
But literally, I sat there and did a lot of data entry, and
How did you end up there? Did you know somebody that said, hey, there's
I was recruited on campus. So my degree was in finance, minor in accounting from the business school of the University of Colorado. And then I was recruited off campus, and they made me an offer, relocated me, and off I went. My father said, you can do anything for 2 years, so stay. So even though I hated it, I liked Houston. I had a lot of friends. It was a company. There was like a whole cohort of 10 or 15 of us starting at the same time from different colleges, and we were all, so that was fun. We were all in the same boat. But yeah, my 2 year anniversary, I quit and I moved home, got a temp job, and then ended up at Gartner. And my job at Gartner was in the sales department, but it was called sales support and billing. And again, I was doing the accounting. I started calculating, I was responsible for helping to calculate the commissions. And I was sitting next to all these salespeople, and I thought, I'm making whatever I'm making. They're making a whole lot more. And I'm pretty sure I can do what they can do. And so I started lobbying to the senior VP of sales, put me in, coach, I'm ready to play type thing. And after about 6 or 7 months, he came up to me and he was, Julie, put your money where your mouth is. We've got an opening. I'm going to move you into what at the time was like an inside sales role. If you think of what Gartner did, Gartner was doing continuous renewable services long before sex was created, right? So in inside sales, I was like a customer success or an account manager, what you would call today. I was partnered with the outside people. They were out getting the new logos, and I was supporting them, driving the renewals, driving usage, and finding opportunities to either cross sell or upsell. And I did that for a couple of years. I was the number one performer, top performer. Within 2 years, was promoted to a key account manager with my own territory. So my career just took off from there in sales, and Gartner was growing so fast. It was like I worked for 10 different companies. It just happened to be that the paycheck kept coming from the same place.
how many managers do you think you had over the years? Or how many people you reported to? I counted mine up one time. I had 23.
At Gartner, let's see, one, probably one, two, three, probably 10 in 16 years.
It's interesting. You could stay at the
Yeah.
same place and have all these different styles and people and things.
Completely different styles of management. Yeah, and different, and the company was truly different in different stages. Like, and when I first joined them, they were publicly held and then immediately went private, and then were sold again to Saatchi and Saatchi, the big British advertising conglomerate. And then Katie and Gartner bought them back, took them private again, then sold them in part to Dun& and Bradstreet. And that's when our CEO, who was kind of really responsible for a lot of the growth, came from D&B, and a couple of acquisitions in there. And It was a lot, and I was on the East Coast and then the West Coast. I actually promoted a lot early on in my career because I was willing to move. Yeah, and I took opportunities that maybe I wasn't the most qualified person, but I was willing to mo if there was an open manager job in Chicago, I'll go. Where a lot of the people that maybe would have gotten it ahead of me were saying they wouldn't relocate. So I relocated probably with Gartner 4 times for that next level, and is that was critical early on in my career.
So are you one of those people who you didn't really feel imposter syndrome, or you heard about an opportunity and it sounded good, like good for the company, good for you. You were willing to do it.
Willing to do it, but I wouldn't say I never had imposter syndrome. There were times where I was like, "Oh my god, they said yes, and now I'm scared to death." But I definitely was promoted faster than some of my colleagues, in part because I was willing to move, no question. I moved to Boston, I moved to the Bay Area, I moved to Chicago, I moved back to Connecticut. So then when I got married and my husband took a job in California, I was also in a position to say, "Hey, I now need to move to the West Coast." And they created a role for me and made it easy for me to move to the West Coast and stay with the company. I think the advice to my younger self is a couple of things. Number one, the relationships you build with leadership and your peers are so important, and being credible and trustworthy, staying out of the rumor mill, all of that stuff is critical. You don't know who your next boss is going to be. And there were times where a peer was promoted, all of a sudden a peer was promoted, and I didn't want to be the person that had talked unkindly about anybody because you never know what's going to happen politically in the organization. So really stay out of the weeds of the rumor mill and the complaining, and no place is ever perfect. And then I think number two is really invest in the relationships. Some of those first managers that I had, I'm still in touch with today, 30 plus years ago. And they're still mentors to me and a sounding board. And a few of them still think I work for them. And they pick up the phone and call me like, "Drop everything, it's me." And that's a pain too. But it's those relationships are so critical. And today with LinkedIn and networking being so much easier than it was back then, I just think it's so powerful to never burn a bridge and keep in touch with everybody that you work with. I don't think so. I think AI is going to make a lot of the things that sales reps had hated to do anyway a little easier for them, whether it's doing research or data entry, getting stuff into CRM. I think all of those automation tools are going to go there. For the types of clients that I work from, I think buyers still want to look you in the eye and know the people behind the product or service that you're offering. And most of the companies that I work with are selling a big enough ticket item that the buyer needs help
It's
from
complex.
salesperson.
Complex.
It's complex, absolutely. And it's a business decision, not just a procurement decision. I think women very good at sales. I'm trying to pick my words wisely so I don't offend any men, because I know plenty of really good male sales reps. But I think women are really good at sales because we are really good at being in service to other people. And when I think of really good salespeople, it's not about my ego, it's about understanding your world so I can add value to you. And I think women naturally are really good at that. And I think that's why, in some ways, women are really good at sales. I think women are naturally good communicators. And I think you said it best, it's the egoless, active listening, where I think some men feel like they have to be right. It has to be their way or the highway. Some, not all, but and they challenge a little bit more. And I know I'm not talking about like challenger, but they create resistance where it's not necessarily serving them well. I think that was my success, was just my ability to build relationship. And good, bad, or different, I was likable. I'd like to still think I am likable, but And when you're likable, people don't see you as a threat and they're willing to spend time with you.